happen? We'll ask Rice University political science professor Mark Jones all about it. I'm Ernie Manouse.
And I'm Celeste Díaz Schurman. How could President Trump's tariffs affect us right here in Houston? We'll ask Bill King of Rice University's Baker Institute for Public Policy about the local economy.
I'm Frank Billingsley. We want to hear from you. Do you have any questions about the local economy? Give us a call at 713-440-8870 or email us at talk@hellohouston.org.
Plus, the children's charity Cycle puts two great things together, bikes and literacy for second graders. We'll learn more from their executive director, Rebecca Roberts.
All that and more here on Hello Houston, following the news from NPR and News 88.7.
Hello Houston is made possible in part by founding sponsors John Bradshaw and Kathy Sanders, and by gifts from listeners like you.
Live from NPR News in Washington, I'm Windsor Johnston. A federal court in Maryland will hold a hearing today in the case of a man who was wrongfully deported to El Salvador last month. NPR's Franco Ordonez reports the Trump administration was ordered to help facilitate the return of Kilmar Abrego Garcia, but the White House says it can't comply.
The Trump team is downplaying this as a paperwork issue. They insist Abrego Garcia has ties to the MS-13 gang. Again, his lawyer says he's not a member.
NPR's Franco Ordonez. Despite a Supreme Court ruling directing the White House to facilitate his return, El Salvador maintains custody of Abrego Garcia. The man's family continues to push for his release, stressing his lack of criminal history and the dangers he faces in El Salvador. The Trump administration is freezing $2 billion in federal grants to Harvard University. NPR's Alyssa Nadworny reports the withholding of funds follows the university's refusal to comply with the list of demands from the administration.
On Monday, the nation's wealthiest university became the first college to say it would not comply with a list of demands from the federal government, saying they were unlawful in exchange for federal funds. The Trump administration's demands included reporting foreign students who commit conduct violations to federal authorities, giving students and faculty less power in university affairs, and having an outside party oversee academic departments for what the administration calls viewpoint diversity. The changes stem from a federal investigation of Harvard and dozens of other schools over diversity efforts and alleged anti-Semitism on campus. Alyssa Nadworny, NPR News.
In a post on social media today, President Trump suggested that Harvard University should lose its tax-exempt status. It's the first public comment from the president since the administration froze federal funding. A vaccine advisory committee for the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention is holding its first public meeting of the Trump administration today. NPR's Ping Huang reports this meeting was postponed from February.
In the two-day public meeting, CDC staff will present data and updates on a range of vaccines to a panel of independent advisors, who will then discuss and vote on recommendations for some of them, including RSV and chikungunya. Claire Hannon, head of the Association of Immunization Managers, says she's reassured by the meeting's agenda.
Really glad to see that it's scheduled and that, they're holding public comments.
The committee's advice shapes access and insurance coverage for vaccines. Vaccine advocates have been concerned that Trump administration officials would interfere with this committee by removing members. That has not happened yet. Ping Huang, NPR News.
On Wall Street, the Dow was up 138 points. This is NPR.
Live from News 88.7 in Houston, I'm Gabrielle Dawkins. The Houston Health Department expects to lose $42 million as a result of federal funding cuts. That includes about $12 million in personnel cuts. News 88.7's Dominic Anthony Walsh reports the loss is raising concerns about potential cuts in housing funds.
The Houston Chronicle, which first reported on the cut, says the health department's $99 million budget was supplemented by about $71 million in state and federal grants. The city's Housing and Community Development Department, by contrast, draws 99% of its funding from federal grants. Councilmember Tiffany Thomas chairs the city's housing committee.
Any type of, reduction in funds will disrupt the entire housing ecosphere that we've created in the city.
The health department says it's still assessing the full impact of our programs and services, while the housing department says it continues to assess daily actions out of Washington, D.C. I'm Dominic Anthony Walsh, News 88.7.
On a vote of 5-2, the Fort Bend ISD Board approved a measure that parents must be notified if a student asks to be identified by a different name or pronoun other than what was assigned at birth. More than 30 students, parents, and advocates spoke out against the policy at Monday's board meeting.
This does not respect parental rights. It prohibits the required use of personal names and pronouns, even with a parent's full and written support. If I, as a parent, tell you who my child is and you refuse to acknowledge them, you're not respecting my rights, you're undermining them.
Defending the vote, Board President Kristen Tassin stated their job is to provide a balance of all students and ultimately to defer to parents. Similar policies have been voted into place in Katy and Cy-Fair ISDs. It's 73 degrees on the UH campus, mostly sunny with a high near 80. Tonight's low is around 64 degrees. I'm Gabrielle Dawkins, News 88.7.
Support for NPR comes from NPR stations. Other contributors include Procter & Gamble, maker of Metamucil, a fiber supplement containing psyllium, a plant-based fiber for trapping and removing waste in the digestive system, designed to be taken every day. More at metamucil.com.
Live from the University of Houston, it's Hello Houston, an open forum on today's biggest stories affecting Houston and beyond. Call now, 713-440-8870, or let us know your thoughts on today's topics by emailing us at talk@hellohouston.org. Now here's your host for Hello Houston, Ernie Manouse, Celeste Díaz Schurman, and Frank Billingsley.
Hello,
I know
Houston.
those
Hello,
people.
Houston.
Hello there, folks.
How's everybody doing?
Doing well.
Good.
It's been a long week.
Yeah.
And it's
only
Tuesday.
Oh, Celeste.
It was a nice morning.
Guys,
It's got a
come
little
on.
cloudy out there, but it was a nice morning.
As we chit-chat, remember, you can watch us on YouTube. We welcome you into the YouTube family. And as Celeste will point out to us, there's a lot of activity that goes on YouTube. People
Yes,
are commenting.
there's
and
lots of
chiming
comments
in
and chiming in, and you can see us.
Yeah, so you just go to HoustonPublicMedia.org, and we have this big orange banner right there. And you just click the
it.
orange banner.
Or
and
you can
off
go over
go.
to youtube.com and look for Houston Public Media for our channel. And we're right there with you. You know what's right here with us always? The weather. And
I know, it's
still
nice.
So we enjoy talking
We
about
had this
it.
little front come through overnight, which brought us sort of a crisp morning.
Mm-hmm.
Say goodbye to that. I know. It's going to get more and more humid as the week continues. So we're getting much more into a summer pattern. So we're starting to lose that a little bit. And then Easter weekend, it's not a rain out, but there are 30% chances of rain Saturday and Sunday.
So what you're telling me is the original plan where I was going to have my parents, my in-laws, and everybody's going to come over after Easter and go to the early service. We were going to sit outside and eat lunch or brunch. You think cancel the brunch?
I would try it.
Okay.
I never say never when it comes to weather around here.
That's
and I
true.
never say never to brunch. So what time are we coming by, Celeste? All right. Well,
Notice
we got a
I
lot
didn't
of,
answer.
What'd you say? I noticed you didn't answer, but I know where you live. So
I have
forget
two
that.
brunches to go to, so if the first one gets rain, the second one shouldn't.
I have no brunches to go to.
Well,
I'm just going to sit
one
with
of
a
them
best.
Greek
one of mine is a Greek Easter.
That's right.
Yeah, the Greek in the room is
You
not
are the
invited
Greek.
to Greek Easter.
That's right.
Well, I'm just going to sit home with my basket of chocolate and just eat all day.
Aw.
Anyway, we have a lot on today's show. If that didn't hold your attention, we're going to talk with Rice University Baker Institute for Public Policy's Bill King will be joining us, an old friend of our shows over the years, and friend of years. Frank said we're very happy to have him to help us understand what's going on with the economy and a lot more. But we start, as always, the show with the topics of the day. Celeste, lead us off.
That's right. This out of McKinney. A Collin County judge on Monday significantly reduced the track meet stabbing suspect Carmelo Anthony's bond from $1 million to $250,000 and also placed him under house arrest. For those who may not be familiar with the story, Carmelo Anthony was arrested and charged with murder earlier this month. He is being accused of killing 17-year-old Austin Metcalf at a high school track meet. And this story truly is tragic all around. Frank, Ernie, and I would love for you to join the conversation. Do you feel like the judge made the right decision to lower Anthony's bond? Now is the time to call 713-440-8870. While in police custody, Anthony admitted to the stabbing and claimed he was defending himself against Metcalf. This is obviously according to an arrest affidavit. Anthony's father testified as a witness at the hearing on Monday, and about 10 people attended the hearing in support of Carmelo Anthony. Metcalf's family was also present, including his dad, grandfather, aunt, and mother, who wore gold ribbon and a number 11 pin.
Yeah.
So
tragic is the word.
Yeah.
Both families, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead. So what do you think? Do you think the bond should have been lowered? I do.
You do?
You think
I
it should
do.
have been lowered?
Well, I mean, you know, from $1 million, you got to come up with $100,000 non-refundable. So they wanted $150. The judge went to $250. So saying that, Carmelo Anthony's family has raised $440,000 through it's not exactly a GoFundMe site, but it's similar. But, you know, legal standings, I mean, lawyers cost a lot of money.
Yeah.
Security detail costs a lot of money. He doesn't have a blemish on his record. There's a lot to unpack here.
There really is a lot to unpack to this story because it's you know, two young men in high school. They were both 17.
Right.
And as we continue to hear more details, some students are saying it was clearly in self-defense. Others are saying it was targeted. You know, again, the suspect has Carmelo Anthony has no prior issues. You know, he wasn't a kid.
It's going to go to the way he felt at the time, because clearly he was the one with a knife. And the boy who got stabbed did not have a weapon. But you could argue, perhaps effectively, that fists can be a deadly weapon, and you can certainly feel like you are about to be assaulted if someone raises clenched fists. I wasn't there. I don't know. He admits he stabbed him. But it's, you know, I mean, it is, as we said, a lot to unpack. But he has an ankle bracelet on. He has to meet with his bailiff every week. No social media. Because there's a lot out there of social media that's complete rubbish.
That is very important. No social media.
It could be, to my first point, it could be a year and a half, 2 years before this actually goes to trial. And for him to sit in jail for 2 years, I think is probably a lot at his age, and he's never had any kind of a problem, and he's admitted that he did this. He was apparently an emotional breakdown in the back of the police car. It's not. It really is something awful that got out of control.
For the bond in these cases is he a threat to others?
That's the question.
That's a great question.
So is he, there was an incident and this happened. We know that much. What led to it, the details we don't know. Is it likely this would happen again while we await trial? And that's what you kind of are deciding here. So it's probably not likely. If he has no record of outbursts and behavioral problems in the past, then this could be a very sad one-off incident. And so lowering the bond so he can be out until the hearing, the trial, makes sense.
And he's claiming self-defense.
Right. If he has a history, though, of violent behavior, if a person had a history of violent behavior and stuff, then the bonds are higher because they are more likely, probability-wise speaking, to find themselves in another situation. In this case, I don't think, from what I know of the case, I don't think he's the kind of person who needs a higher bond.
Still tragic.
That's right. It's very tragic. But we want to hear from you. Give us a call, 713-440-8870.
This next story I woke up to kind of in shock today as I read more about it. There's a lot of nuance to it, but the Trump administration announced Monday that it would freeze $2.2 billion in multi-year grants and $60 million in multi-year contract value to Harvard University after the school said it would not follow policy demands from the administration. Earlier Monday, Harvard University said it would reject the Trump administration's demands for policy changes at the school. Should Harvard comply with the Trump rules? 713-440-8870. Or to flip it, should the government have a say in where their money is spent? And I mean it in the regards to, if they're not telling Harvard has to shut down, they're not telling Harvard they can't exist as they are. They're saying, if you are not doing what we want, we won't give you the money we give you.
We're going to withhold our funds.
Don't you have a right to decide how the money you get? Now, granted, it's government money. It's a little different, but a right to decide how that money is used. It'd be different if they said, okay, Harvard, you have to cease to exist.
Is it?
But because there's such a dependency on that money,
well, not for Harvard.
Not for
Harvard. It's $2 billion, but they have $50 billion stashed away.
Right.
But it's the point. It's the principle of the government saying you need to follow our new policies of DEI, anti-Semitism, and if you don't, then we're not going to give you any funding. So it's almost like you go with the government's new philosophy, or you're out.
And I think we've talked about overreach. We've talked about how, different administrations will overreach into certain areas. To me, this seems, once again, we're looking at that definition of overreach. And I have a real problem with that. Whenever you start withholding funds because it feels a little bully-ish,
Right.
I'm not going to give you my funds because, you're not going to use it the way I math. It just, to me, doesn't feel right. Doesn't sound right.
And the overreach includes getting rid of DEI programs.
Right.
Banning masks at campus protests. Why would you ban masks at campus protests?
I'm assuming it's
for safety.
No, you want to see
for
who
identity.
there.
That's right, identity.
Yeah. Identity of
They're
who it
saying
is.
for safety.
We
They're going to
wanna-
say for safety, but it's for identity.
They want to know who's protesting.
Right.
Yeah.
They want to know who's protesting so they can remove them from the country if they don't agree with them.
I just feel that the censorship is the bigger issue in all of this. And by the government pulling back funding, it is flexing their muscle to say, you don't do, like Frank was saying, you don't do what we say to do, then we're going to punish you. So the next organization feels, well, then I have to do what they say because I don't want my funding taken. And so institutions of higher learning, I think, are supposed to be areas where we explore ideas and reach further. And maybe it's not always comfortable, but we have to have a place where young minds can evolve and think on different topics.
Totally.
And to have interference from anything to say, you can't think that, you can't express that, you can't feel that, moves us into very dangerous territory.
And speaking of dangerous territories, it feels like also there's this level of the pendulum swinging so much to one side. What happens in a few years when we have a new administration coming in?
Right.
The pendulum is going to swing. We are pulling things back. How are we going to preserve things or bring these things back?
What do you all think? Give us a call at 713-440-8870. We'd love to hear what you have to say. Right now, going back to our earlier story, we've got a call on the line from Eric in the 3rd Ward. Eric, what's on your mind today?
Hello. Hello, everyone. How are you doing?
Good.
Doing well, Eric.
So my comment is, I believe, based on what I've read, if the student that is being charged did not provoke, did not start this incident, Texas being a stand your ground state, has every right to defend himself as long as he feels like he was in threat of bodily harm or injury.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
So
I think that's going to be his lawyer's position.
Yes. So I hope that everything I've read, and I do feel sorry for the other gentleman, but I hope that if everything I read, that he would actually get acquitted and not have to spend the rest of his life in jail, because as a 17-year-old,
right,
that would be horrible.
Yeah.
Eric,
It's almost like you have to know when to walk away.
Yeah.
And it's very hard when you're 17, and there's a lot of hormones.
Emotions
and
track meets and people and
Eric, thank you for calling and sharing your thoughts with us. What his comments make me think, too, is that things are so out of order in how things happen. It's almost like you need to know the facts of the situation to decide on if there's bond. And to get the facts, you need to have the trial to learn what the information is. But that's after the fact. And in today's society, so often happens so much later down the road. So it's kind of cart before horse, and it's hard.
And going back to what Frank mentioned, why did he have a knife?
Well, perhaps he felt like he had to have some sort of protection in his life.
Perhaps it's speculation, and we need to know the facts on
That's
it.
right.
Facts come out in trials, hopefully,
so we'll
and
watch
trial
We
doesn't
haven't seen
happen for a
the
while.
knife really, but it was a very mano a mano kind of situation.
Yeah.
And you also wonder if this kid wasn't just kind of almost trying to just spar
and threaten
him and got him in the one place in his chest that would kill him within minutes. You know, I mean, it's going to be a story to watch. That's for sure.
Well, as always, we're interested in what you think on any of the topics we're talking about today. So give us a call. We'll share them with our audience. 713-440-8870. Couple little days that we have. Of course, everyone should know it's tax day. We spent a lot of time with that yesterday. It's also Spiral Ham Day. Seems a little early. That should be on Sunday.
You know, really quickly, National Tax Day. My dad is a CPA, so I want to say...
My dad was too.
Really? Yeah, my dad was a CPA.
My dad ran from CPAs, so in a sense, it's his day of celebration, too. And also, everyone is getting excited out there in the world about those action figure images that people are making. What are we calling them?
The AI dolls.
Generated doll pictures. Well, guess what?
What?
We couldn't resist it either.
I know, right?
Go to our Instagram, the HelloHouston.show is where you'll find us. And I do believe I've always thought Frank and Celeste were dolls. Now I have proof of it. You two are up there along with me. So let us know. And if you have your doll photos, share them with us. We'd love to see them.
We have a voodoo doll of you, Ernie.
Oh, is that what that is? Oh, is that what happened?
Coming up on Hello Houston, we talk with the Rice University Baker Institute for Public Policy's Bill King about the local economy and more. And we're also taking your calls on any of today's topics at 713-440-8870. This is Hello Houston on News 88.7. You're listening to Hello Houston, where every story starts with a question about life in our city, and every conversation continues because of you. If this show makes you feel more connected, more curious, more grounded in Houston, give now at houstonpublicmedia.org/donate or call 888-909-0887.
And here's the best part. It's Trees Day.
Trees.
I know. That means that when you give, you can have a tree planted in our community. Just select trees as a thank you gift. Support local news and local trees. So give now at houstonpublicmedia.org/donate or call 888-909-0887.
This show isn't about headlines. It's about voices, change makers, artists, neighbors, advocates, people with something real to say. When you support Hello Houston, you're making sure these voices are heard. Be part of it. Give now at houstonpublicmedia.org/donate or call 888-909-0887.
So every weekday, Hello Houston takes time to listen to you. Whether it's a story about culture or justice or joy, this show connects you to your community. If it matters to Houston, it matters here. So help keep this space alive and plant a tree. So give now at houstonpublicmedia.org/donate or call 888-909-0887.
Public media works because people like you make it happen. We're not ad-supported. We're powered by you. Truly, you know monthly donations are a great and convenient way to give. If $10 or $20 a month works well for you, make a quick and easy gift that allows us to plan ahead so that we can keep you and our community informed no matter what the future holds. Start your monthly donation right now at houstonpublicmedia.org/donate or call 888-909-0887.
Today, your gift does double good. It supports Hello Houston and it supports our environment. So give and select trees as your thank you gift. And a tree will be planted in the greater Houston area thanks to our partnership with Trees for Houston. So don't miss this chance. Give now at houstonpublicmedia.org/donate or call 888-909-0887. That's 888-909-0887.
Knowing what's going on shouldn't depend on your income or internet access. That's why Houston Public Media is here, for everyone, free and trusted.
And today on Trees Day, your gift can do even more. Your donation can help protect your access to trusted information and plant trees in our community.
Just donate to Houston Public Media and choose trees as your thank you gift.
But this won't last long. Give now at houstonpublicmedia.org/donate.
Hi, I'm Craig Cohen, the host of Houston Matters. Join me weekday mornings at 9 or at your leisure on your podcast feed for your daily guide to the people, places, issues, and ideas that define Greater Houston. From politics to the economy, energy to the environment, healthcare to education to transportation and beyond. If it matters to Houston, it matters to us. Check us out wherever you get your podcasts or live on the air weekdays at 9 a.m. right here on News 88.7.
Support comes from Houston Grand Opera, opening the 25-26 season with Porgy and Bess, featuring music by George Gershwin, blending jazz, blues, and spirituals. Select dates available now at hgo.org.
Support for Houston Public Media comes from listeners like you and from Smart Financial Center in Sugar Land, presenting guitarist Santana in concert Wednesday, April 23rd at Smart Financial Center. Tickets at smartfinancialcenter.net.
Support for Houston Public Media comes from IL Texas, helping to prepare students for leadership roles in the international community by emphasizing servant leadership, language immersion, and character building. More at iltexas.org. Support comes from attorney mediator Ron Bankston, providing in-person, video conference, and hybrid mediation and arbitration services. More information is available at ronbankston.com.
And now back to Hello Houston. To share your thoughts on any of today's topics, call 713-440-8870 or email us at talk@hellohouston.org. Now here's Ernie Manouse, Celeste Díaz Schurman, and Frank Billingsley.
Welcome back to Hello Houston. I'm Ernie Manouse here with Celeste and Frank. On yesterday's show, we discussed the case of Kilmar Armando Abrego Garcia, a Maryland man who was wrongfully deported to El Salvador. The El Salvadorian president, Nayib Bukele, has made it clear that he is not going to help return Garcia back to the United States, following President Donald Trump's defiance of a federal court order to facilitate Garcia's return. To tell us more about the case and help us figure out some of the more twists and turns in this that were confusing us yesterday, we welcome Mark Jones, the Joseph D. Jamil Chair in Latin American Studies at Rice University. Mark, good morning and welcome to Hello Houston. Can you hear me, Mark? Mark's looking at me, but he can't hear me. You know what? We're going to go back to that story, and we have another guest in studio. So let's go to him first, and then we'll get back to Mark in a minute.
And that's Bill King. He's an expert on local economics. He's previously served as the national managing partner of Lindbarger, Goggin, Blair & Sampson and is president of Southwest Airport Services, Inc. He's currently a fellow in public finance at Rice University's Baker Institute. He's now here on Hello Houston to discuss our local economy. Bill King, welcome to the program.
Hey, guys. Good to be back.
Hey, if you have any questions for Bill, you can call us at 713-440-8870. Let's get right to it. Tariffs and the Houston economy. We have 500 Fortune companies do we have?
Yeah, I don't know, but it's going to be bad.
It's going to be bad. So, okay, what's your take on all of this?
Well, look, we're an import center, so we're one of the biggest ports in the country. Mm-hmm. You can already see what's happened to the price of oil that this global slowdown is going to cause. I mean, it's a disaster for Houston any way you look at it.
So what did you happen to see Fareed Zakaria's 5-minute piece explaining the tariffs? And he talks about the problem is that when you start with tariffs and then you start, if it's fair for everybody, it's fair for everybody. But then you start giving different levels of tariffs and different exemptions, and different people have different tariffs here and different there. And that's when you can say, well, if you are a Republican, your tariffs won't be as high. But if you support the Democratic Party, your tariffs will be high. And it leads to all kinds of corruption.
So, look, if you really want a deep dive on tariffs, you really ought to have my partner, John Diamond from
we
Baker.
talked to John.
He is a real expert on this. But basically, this is what John says, is that, tariffs can have, they're a tool, and they can be used or they can be misused. And so if you want to use tariffs to, try to discourage China from stealing intellectual property, that makes sense. But this idea that we're going to have reciprocal tariffs across the entire world at the same time is going to do nothing but be a disaster. And every time we've tried this in American history, which has been multiple times, it's led to severe economic hardship.
So which industries are going to be hit hardest in Houston?
Well, generally speaking, the people that export are hurt by tariffs. So farmers typically, it's sort of ironic, and when you go back in history, it's always been the farmers that are opposed to tariffs because they know it's going to hurt them. But the problem is Trump's base is in the rural areas, and so in the last time he did this, we had to spend about $40 billion subsidizing farmers because of the business that they lost.
There's already a report out that beef farmers are going to be hit hard, of which I would think there are a lot in Texas.
Yeah. Look, there's this great analogy we've been using lately, and this is the way to think about tariffs. If you're going to say we're going to have a tariff on anybody that we have a trade deficit with, so, for the guys that take care of my lawn, I've got a trade deficit with them. I spend money with them, but they never spend any money for me. So if this logic is true, what I would start doing is charging them a tax for doing work for me. It is absolutely illogical. It makes no sense whatsoever. And history has proved over and over and over that these don't work.
So, Bill, looking at Houston business owners who are essentially, like you said, are about to be bracing for impact, how do you think they should be preparing? What would you be encouraging local business owners to do as, again, we are looking at the impacts of these tariffs locally?
Well, I think what they are already doing is they're just freezing in place. They're not doing anything. They're not going to be going forward with expansion plans, with hiring people, with all those sorts of things. And then the other thing that you got to layer on top of this is immigration, because the Houston growth has been very, very heavily dependent on international immigration. Last year, according to the Census Bureau, 96% of Harris County's growth came from international immigration. So if all of a sudden we take immigration down to zero, that means that population growth goes down here, and then all of a sudden businesses are frozen by tariff. This is a kind of a perfect storm for Houston.
I read your blogs, and tell everyone where they can read your blogs.
BillKingBlog.com is it's where my stuff is, and then also at the Baker Institute we have papers under the finance.
We're talking to Bill King, public finance. He's a fellow at public finance of Rice University's Baker Institute. If you have a question for Bill, 713-440-8870.
Going back to the broader picture, regardless of if you like tariffs or don't like tariffs, the way they are being rolled out, changed, pulled back, resubmitted, what does that do to the economy and just the faith in it, and not just locally, nationally, but globally with this kind of behavior?
No, we just saw the Michigan consumer sentiment drop the lowest since the pandemic. I mean, people are as uncertain now as they were during the pandemic, and you think about how crazy we all were back then. So this has a tendency to freeze everybody in place. Mm-hmm. And when that happens, that means people are not out shopping, they're not out buying, they're not out building. I was talking to somebody the other day that was talking about doing an addition to their house. And they said, with my stock, my portfolio down, I think I'm just going to put that off for a while.
Well, that's the first
kind of
domino.
Decisions are making place all over the whole country, but especially in a town like Houston.
Well, consumer spending is the first domino for recession.
Right.
But then globally, the impact, our trade partners, our finance partners around the globe, what does that do to the concept of America as stable?
So we saw the night before, the Tuesday night before, when he put all this on pause, we saw the first ripples of that. The bond market went south in a big time. Biggest credit spreads in over 50 years, which is a sign that the world's losing faith in our Treasury debt. And we can't afford that because we are financing so much of what we do by getting people to buy our Treasury bills. And those yields begin to blow out. And it was really, the story is, it's the Treasury Secretary Bensett went to Trump and said, look, we're about to have a sovereign debt crisis if you don't do something. And that's what caused him to pull back. Like I said, there are a lot of places you want to use tariffs for particular target purposes. There's nothing wrong with that. Mm-hmm. But this idea that somehow we're going to charge everybody in the world is screwing us, we're going to charge everybody in the world. We were charging tariffs to people that don't even charge us tariffs, right, and much higher tariffs than they charge us.
A reminder that a bond is an IOU. So that when we issue a bond, we're promising somebody we're going to give them more money than that bond is worth if they hold on to it for a certain number of years. They start cashing it in. What they're saying is, I don't think you're going to be able to pay me back.
Right. And this is the deepest and most liquid market in the world. I mean, billions of dollars of U.S. debt trade every day. And they trade 24 hours a day. So what we were seeing Tuesday night is that people were dumping their U.S. bonds.
There's a question from Stephen for you. He's from Cyprus, and he says that you cited the price of oil as one of the disasters caused by the tariffs. He says, all I see is the price getting lower.
Yeah.
So what gives?
Yeah, well, that's great if you are not involved in the oil industry in any way in Houston. But a lot of people are.
And they want higher prices.
Well, they certainly want stable prices. You don't want them too high because then it becomes a problem. But for, all the people that work in the oil and gas business in Houston, that's still far and away our biggest employer. This is a really bad thing.
Do you think the city of Houston and Harris County local officials should be doing things to also prepare for the fact that freezing is going to hit everybody, consumers at all levels, pulling back on even, like you were mentioning, remodeling your home? How do you think the city of Houston local officials should be preparing for this to support Houstonians?
Well, look, I think the problem is going to be them just getting by financially. I mean, we already know the city of Houston is in deep financial trouble.
Correct.
Harris County is beginning to look like it's got some pretty serious problems. I think what they've got to do is they've got to make sure they're not spending any money that's not on absolutely essential programs.
Yeah.
We have a call from Andrew from West Houston. Andrew, what's your question for Bill?
Yes, hi, Bill. This is just a basic question. If tariffs are so bad for the countries that have them, and there's such a detriment to the economies of those countries, why is other countries have such high tariffs against imports?
Oh.
And we're the low man on the totem pole there.
Well, because that's not true. That's a narrative that you hear. But for example, the tariff on us exporting cars to Germany is 2.5%. Us exporting cars into Germany is 2.5%. We just put on a across the board 10% tariff. They were talking about putting a 40% tariff on Germany. These are not proportional in any way whatsoever. And so, if you don't like what a particular country is doing with you, then you go negotiate an agreement with them. But trying to start a trade war with the entire world at one time and set tariffs at rates that are unprecedented is going to cause nothing but disaster. And we know this because we saw it several times in this country, including back in the 1870s when McKinley did it.
People who look at the economy often are talking about these tariffs and the problems they're having with it and your understanding of it. I'm curious if you can take a step back and if you are sitting in the Oval Office there, if you can see a logical through thought on what's happening and how it would benefit us. Is there a way we're missing this?
Look, there are absolutely reasons to do tariffs. And I'll give you a good example. When you have critical industries that you've offshored and you really decided that's a bad idea, like chip manufacturing, for example, there's a couple different ways that you can get chip manufacturing here. You can incentivize it. You can, pay subsidies to get here, or you can make it much more expensive to do it overseas. Both of those make sense in that case. So if you're going to impose, tariffs on chips to try to move chip manufacturing in the United States, that's logical. That makes sense to me. But when you're talking about putting tariffs on, tennis shoes, manufacturing tennis shoes is never coming back to the United States. We don't have enough people to do that unless you want to open up the borders and start letting a whole bunch of people come in that will do that kind of low-wage work. But we don't have that workforce in the United States anymore.
And 95% of our shoes are made outside the United States.
Absolutely.
That's right.
And let me just make this point real quick. There is this myth that America does not manufacture anything anymore. That is absolutely not true. Our manufacturing output today is higher than it has ever been in the history of the country, as a straight line up on the chart. Now, manufacturing employment is a straight line down because we've gotten much more efficient at doing these things, which allows you to pay higher wages. When you get those higher wages, you can't then ask those people to go make $6 an hour making tennis shoes.
We have a call from Greg from Kingwood. Hi, Greg.
Hi. It's a question and a comment, but everyone now that we see what we've done to ourselves as a country, and how do we get out? And shouldn't the media start getting the word out that we are in a recession in this country? Consumer sentiment is down, crashed. Consumer spending is going down, crashing. The economy lives on consumer spending. We are in a recession, and the sooner we all wake up to the fact that it is a totally man-made, one man, and that we will make it as quick a recession as possible by reshuffling the cards that we have dealt and picked ourselves.
Okay, thanks, Greg. Bill, are we in a recession?
Well, you never know until after the fact, right? I mean, we won't know whether we're in one now for a couple of quarters from now, but certainly things are slowing down significantly. I don't think there's any question that Greg's right about that. Look, this is why we have elections in this country. And the truth of the matter is no president or political party is going to survive economic downturn, and especially inflation. Americans hate inflation. It's why Biden lost the last election. And so the question will be whether or not Republicans and the Trump administration alter their course based on the numbers as they come in. We've already seen that. I mean, they announced this, what was really a childish kind of tariff scheme of putting 40, 50% tariffs on everybody, and within a few days they had to back off of that. But so it's not like they're oblivious to it.
Has the whiplash already done the damage?
Well, there's no question that there's some damage has been done, but these things tend to, work themselves out over time. But certainly, if you're somebody and you were thinking about relying on an American trading partner, you might have second thoughts about that. So if you were getting some kind of supplies to the United States, you might think, well, maybe I ought to go, if I can get those in Brazil, maybe I ought to go do that because that's a more reliable supply source for me.
But everybody's for the United States. I get the feeling that even the world wants this to get figured out. Well, it's better for everybody if the United States is strong.
No question about it. And I think, and I think the United States, despite what everybody says, everybody hates us, hasn't been true when I've traveled internationally anyway. Mm-hmm. But I'll tell you, when you start doing stuff like this, it starts really aggravating people. Yeah. I mean, when you start imposing tariffs on countries that don't even tariff us at all, they're going to wait a minute, I thought you were our friend.
But was that a political ploy? So country X, I'm going to tariff you unless you really start to support my ideology. Then I'll untariff you.
I don't think it was even that well thought out. That what they said they did was they looked at countries, and if we had a trade deficit with them, then they imposed a tariff.
That's so many countries. Well, that's the islands with penguins.
Well, we're not going to grow coffee in the United States. I mean, we don't have any place in the United States where you can grow coffee. We don't grow many avocados. We don't have any diamond mines. There's just certain things you're never going to be able to do here. And so those places you have to import that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm. Talk to me a little bit before we run out of time about what's going on between us and China and the back and forth and the raising and then the dropping of it. Did we flinch in the face of China? And has China come out stronger by the way they behaved? And if so, are there any lessons we can learn in that negotiation?
Well, we probably ought to set aside a whole hour for this discussion.
You can come back. 2 hours a day.
I saw that smile on your face.
China is an extremely complicated country. Mm-hmm. It has a 5,000-year history, and we don't understand it very well at all. China is a bad actor on many different levels. They are not a threat to the United States. China is in a demographic collapse right now. The UN is projecting they will have half the population by the end of the century that they have right now. We have no historical analog for that. We've never seen a country lose population that fast before. Their per capita GDP is about 20% of what ours is. This is a country that has more people without running water and sewer than live in the United States. Yeah. This is still a very poor country. It's a very big country, and so they make an impact. But they've got a whole host of problems on their own. But here's the thing I think you need to understand. This is a very proud people with a very, very long history. They feel like in the 20th century they were abused by countries like Japan invading them. The Opium Wars, where we were forcing, not we really, the British were forcing them to allow opium to be exported. So they've got a lot of grievances built up over the last 100 years or so. And they have much more ability to withstand pain and hardship than we do. I'm sorry, it's just true. And so I don't think what we're doing is going to have a whole lot of effect on China.
Bill King, thank you so much.
You bet, absolutely,
Yes.
anytime.
Bill King is a fellow in public finance at Rice University's Baker Institute. Bill, again, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Coming up on Hello Houston, we discuss the benefits of getting kids ready early in life as Hello Houston continues. Knowing more helps you move through life with confidence. That's what Hello Houston brings, local conversations that help you lead, engage, and understand. Your gift right now helps us bring you even more. Support what matters at houstonpublicmedia.org/donate or call 888-909-0887.
And remember, today only, you can choose trees for your thank you gift and have a tree planted right here in Houston. It's a chance to give back to Houston in two ways. How many trees can you get during Hello Houston? Give us a call right now at houstonpublicmedia.org/donate or call 888-909-0887.
If you've been listening and haven't given yet, this is your moment. There's no perfect amount. Start with what feels right and know that your gift will make a big difference. Keep Hello Houston strong. Give now at houstonpublicmedia.org/donate or call 888-909-0887.
Now, I hope you didn't tune in to Hello Houston to be told what to think. You tuned in for thoughtful conversation that gives you the tools to decide. You value facts, you value local voices, and it's powered by your support. So keep it going. Give now at houstonpublicmedia.org/donate or call 888-909-0887.
And remember, it's Trees Day, one of my favorites. Your gift helps keep Hello Houston strong and plant a tree in your name thanks to our partnership with Trees for Houston. Just select trees as your thank you gift when you give. Go to houstonpublicmedia.org/donate or call 888-909-0887.
Also, monthly gifts are what keep us going, especially when funding is uncertain. $10 or $20 a month makes a powerful impact and helps us keep showing up for you every weekday at 11. Become a monthly supporter now at houstonpublicmedia.org/donate or call 888-909-0887.
Hello Houston is for you, and it's only here because of you. Let's keep these conversations going strong, and now is the time to act. Please give at Hello Houston at houstonpublicmedia.org/donate or call 888-909-0887.
This is your invitation to take action, not just to show up for the shows you love, but for the Houston we're building together. Support public media and help make our city a greener place. Yep, choose trees when you give at houstonpublicmedia.org/donate or call 888-909-0887.
No matter how much you give, it makes a difference. It keeps Hello Houston alive and helps bring more trees to the Bayou City. Public media and public green space. 2, you can support both right now. Please give at houstonpublicmedia.org/donate or call 888-909-0887.
It only takes a moment, and we're here waiting for you. And it is Tree Day, which is one of your happiest days. Give us a call, 888-909-0887.
Hi, I'm Barry Ward, Executive Director of Trees for Houston. I'm also a Studio Society member at Houston Public Media. I believe that together our organizations can change the world. Join me in becoming a supporter of Houston Public Media today, on Trees Day. When you give today, your gift is matched and you can plant a tree in the Houston community. Select trees as your thank you gift and double your impact today. Give online at houstonpublicmedia.org or call 888-909-0887. Thank you.
Support comes from the Children's Assessment Center. Every child deserves safety and care. April marks Child Abuse Prevention Month, raising awareness of efforts that help protect children and strengthen communities. More information is available at cachhouston.org.
Support comes from the Dan L. Duncan Comprehensive Cancer Center at Baylor St. Luke's Medical Center, offering comprehensive cancer care that is compassionate, personalized, and driven by clinical research. More at stlukeshealth.org/cancer.
Support comes from Twin Liquors, a Texas family-owned home for wine and spirits since 1937. With over 100 locations across the state, Twin Liquors is proud to be part of the community. Orders available online at twinliquors.com for delivery or pickup. Support comes from Houston Chamber Choir, presenting Gather Round, the final concert of founder and artistic director Robert Simpson's 30-year tenure. Saturday, May 31st at St. Luke's Methodist Church. Tickets at houstonchamberchoir.org/radio.
Support for Houston Public Media comes from UNT, offering an online MBA with specializations in organizational behavior, HR management, and more. Classes start every 8 weeks. Details at online.unt.edu/MBA.
Support comes from Texas Mutual Insurance Company, committed to strengthening the state's workforce and its communities through safety and wellness grants and education initiatives. More at texasmutual.com/community impact.
And now back to Hello Houston. To share your thoughts on any of today's topics, call 713-440-8870 or email us at talk@hellohouston.org. Now here's Ernie Manouse, Celeste Díaz Schurman, and Frank Billingsley.
Welcome back, Houston.
Hello.
Ernie, Frank, Celeste, we're
Hi.
here with you. Mark Jones was going to be with us in the last segment to talk about the situation of the gentleman sent to El Salvador, and we had some technical issues, but we promise we'll get that conversation, if not later today, later in the week. So keep listening for that. Now, we were also talking a little earlier about those action figure meme people.
AI.
Mine looks just like me.
Oh, yeah, so does mine. Looks just like
no,
you.
yours doesn't. Mine does.
But, you know, Paul from Friendswood, he has some thoughts on it, so he gave us a call at 713-440-8870. Paul, what's on your mind?
Well, hello, guys. Thank
Hey.
you. First time, and I'm so happy to be on with you guys.
We're happy to have you. So what do you think of our action figures?
I think they're great. It's a Barbie style that you guys went with. And I have been, go ahead.
How about you? Have you done yours?
I've created over 100. I've made even some for some famous people, like Vanilla Ice and Damon John and a bunch of others. I've gotten really good at it in the sense that I can put logos in, backgrounds, everything. So I've been in the AI game now pretty heavy for about 5 years. And unfortunately, I was the guy who made the recording of Biden that went out during the New Hampshire primary. But I got the guy busted for $6 million and 13 federal counts. So that's my story.
I remember that. So let's be clear. These action figures are AI. We can't really order them for Christmas, right?
As a matter of fact, there's a company that's been around for a good 20-something years, and you can.
All right.
Well, Paul, before we let you go, you were kind of mocking our Barbie-style versions, and you've done so many of these. Are Frank, Celeste, and I on the queue for you to make figures for us?
You know what? I'd be more than happy to, and I'll send it to hellohouston.show, which is your Instagram. I'll make 3 separate ones for you guys. No
Paul,
problem.
thank you very
Paul.
much. Boy,
Thanks,
that's
Paul.
the best call all week. Thank you, Paul.
See you guys later.
Thank you. If you have any thoughts or comments or you want to share with us, give us a call, 713-440-8870.
Now, moving on to something that's very near and dear to my heart is bicycles and children. Cycle is a children's charity committed to improving literacy for second grade children at Title I schools in the greater Houston area to accomplish their mission of helping students achieve grade level reading or above by the end of third grade. The charity gives students the opportunity to earn a bicycle as a reward for achieving better academic performance within the classroom. And with us now to tell us more is Rebecca Roberts, the Executive Director for Cycle. Rebecca, welcome to Hello Houston.
Well, thank you so much, all of you, for having me. This is nice. It's nice to see you again after many years, Ernie.
Well, it's good to be seen.
It was only a couple of years ago, honestly.
Yes,
not
and if
really.
everybody wants to see us, we have a YouTube channel. You can see us all right now. Go to youtube.com and pick Houston Public Media's channel.
Rebecca, for those who might not know, what is a Title I school?
So Title I is a federal designation for students who are living at and below the poverty line.
Okay. And so do schools apply for that?
Kind of, sort of. Yes, they will show how many students within their school are actually designated as Title I, and that then affects funding that they get, the resources, especially for free breakfast and lunches, for things like extra education help for those who don't have the resources that perhaps our children.
So let's get to the charity. Tell us about Cycle.
Cycle is all about literacy, changing young children's lives through education, but it's literacy. It's come very clear over the last few years, and especially actually in the last few months. Literacy is what we all need if we're going to succeed in life.
Mhm.
We need to be literate, okay? And you can read a book. I had my little grandson reading the other day, and I was very aware that he was reading the words but not really sure of what it meant. And people don't understand that reading is not literacy. Literacy is reading, comprehension, and writing, okay? And if you can't do that, you're not going to be able to go on past about 6th or 7th grade.
Yeah.
You just can't.
So how do you get these kids to learn more effectively?
We work with the teachers. We are at the chalk face. We say to the teacher, okay, how many kids in your classroom are not succeeding? It might be 70, 80% are not at grade level. And I'm talking second grade. They're already in second grade and they're not at grade level.
Already
we have
behind.
students who are at kindergarten level, do not even know their alphabet, okay? So what we do is we say, okay, within one semester, you, Frank, have to do X. You know 5 letters of the alphabet, you need to know 20. Ernie, you are reading at first grade level, but we need to be up close to third, so let's get you up to second grade.
Mm-hmm.
And Celeste, you are the shining star.
Of
so
course.
it's okay, right?
Celeste.
And so the students sign an actual contract with their teacher, and they take it home to their parents, and their parents sign it, and the schools say, it's amazing. Suddenly we have people who have bought in because of the carrot of a bike. And at the end of the semester, all of those who have achieved their goals received a brand new, spanking, sharp, shiny bicycle in blue or
But not
red.
Celeste.
Well, I need a bike. I want a
Oh,
bike.
no,
I want the pink
she
one.
would have still been working hard, and she might, so she's very good. She might need to go up 10 points. You guys might need to go up 20 or 30.
Oh.
But your 20 or 30 is really, really achievable, because the minute that you learn the alphabet and the sounds, and you learn a little more phonics, guess what?
We're there.
The penny drops.
Really quickly, before
Got
we
it.
run out of time, I do want you to stress the importance of when people start to fall behind, when students are falling behind that early on. It's not usual that in a few grades they're going to catch up. They just continue, to be left
drop.
behind.
Yes.
Yeah, so if
Yeah.
that early you're catching them, thank God.
Yeah. And think about the teachers right there in the classrooms dealing with this. And it's not just that they're dealing with students who are behind. They're dealing with students who have so many social issues. You know, perhaps they don't have enough food. They're not home safe. They're just not safe. They bring that problem to school as well. So the school is so much more for them than just going to school and learning.
How can people help Cycle?
Well, you know, obviously money is always needed,
Yeah.
okay? So they can go to cyclehouston.org and donate. Week on Monday, we've got a golf tournament. In September, we have a bicycle ball. And then in December, every year, we build bikes down at NRG. And we built 8,000 last year. And so people actually make a donation to come and build. And corporations really love what we do. They do team building. So they can either do team building down there, or we will take our factory to wherever they are. And we do that a lot. And that's a great way for us
And I want to
fundraise.
thank Rebecca. A few years back, more than I wish to count now, you gave bikes to everyone in our studio audience. We brought in a bunch of kids for a TV show. And it was beautiful.
Gotta go.
Gotta go. Thank
Rebecca
you.
Roberts is the executive director for Cycle, a children's charity dedicated to improving literacy among second graders. Rebecca, thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me.
And coming up on Hello Houston, diagnosis of adults with autism is on the rise. We'll discuss adult autism in recognition of Autism Acceptance Month. And we'll be taking your comments at the top of on all of our stories today. This is Hello Houston on News 88.7.
Stay tuned. There's more Hello Houston on the way with Ernie Manouse, Celeste Díaz Schurman, and Frank Billingsley. For the latest in local news, subscribe to the Hello Houston daily newsletter at HoustonPublicMedia.org. Hello Houston is a production of Houston Public Media. The opinions expressed by the guests of this program are solely their own and do not represent the views of management, staff, or underwriters of Houston Public Media. This is News 88.7.
Support comes from Houston Grand Opera, presenting Missy Mazzoli's contemporary opera Breaking the Waves, making its Houston debut at the Wortham Center from April 19th through May 4th. Tickets are available at hgo.org.
We should see some sunshine later today, the high getting up to near 80. This is your NPR station, KUHF, Houston. News 88.7, a service of the University of Houston.
Just ahead on this hour of Hello Houston, in recognition of Autism Acceptance Month, we discuss adult autism with Donna Wilson and Jacquice Jones of the Monarch Residential Program for Adults Living with Neurological Differences. I'm Frank Billingsley.
And I'm Ernie Manouse, also singer-songwriter of Bette Midler's The Rose. Amanda McBroom and Tony-nominated actress and singer Sally Mays join us to discuss their legendary careers.
I'm Celeste Díaz Schurman. We want to know what your thoughts are, questions, or concerns on any of today's topics. Give us a call, 713-440-8870, or email us at talk@hellohouston.org. And remember, you can also watch us on our YouTube channel. Just go to houstonpublicmedia.org and click that big orange banner.
Hello Houston continues right after the news from NPR and News 88.7.
Hello Houston is made possible in part by founding sponsors John Bradshaw and Kathy Sanders, and by gifts from listeners like you.
Live from NPR News in Washington, I'm Windsor Johnston. Lawyers for the Trump administration are back in federal court today. The White House says it cannot bring back a migrant who was wrongfully deported from Maryland to El Salvador. NPR's Jimena Bustillo reports that's despite a number of federal court orders.
Kilmar Armando Abrego Garcia was deported by mistake to El Salvador last month. A Maryland judge ordered the Trump administration to take steps to facilitate his return, a decision later supported by all 9 Supreme Court justices. But President Trump and Salvadoran President Nayib Bukele both said they have no plans to return him. A federal judge is expected to raise more questions today about whether the administration is doing enough to, quote, facilitate Abrego Garcia's return. Jimena Bustillo, NPR News, Washington.
President Trump's trade war is taking a toll on U.S. exporters. NPR's Scott Horsley reports in a post on social media, Trump accused China of reneging on a deal to buy Boeing aircraft.
Bloomberg reports that China's government has ordered airlines in that country not to accept any more jets from Boeing. That's the latest move in the U.S.-China trade war. Boeing stock fell. Bank of America shares opened higher as the bank reported better-than-expected profits for the most recent quarter. CEO Brian Moynihan says bank forecasters are not projecting a U.S. recession this year, although he acknowledged what he called a changing economy in the future. Scott Horsley, NPR News, Washington.
Jury selection is underway in Manhattan today, where disgraced Hollywood film producer Harvey Weinstein is on trial once again. He's facing numerous charges, including rape and sexual assault. Ilya Meritz reports it's the second time Weinstein is being tried for sex crimes in New York.
Weinstein was convicted in 2020 on felony sex crimes charges and sentenced to 23 years. But an appeals court overturned that verdict last year, ruling that the trial judge allowed some testimony which the jury should not have heard. In this new trial, 3 women are expected to testify against him. Weinstein is 73 and has been in ill health. He's pleaded not guilty. He has a separate conviction in California for rape and sexual assault. For many years, Weinstein was a major hitmaker in Hollywood, with credits ranging from Pulp Fiction to Good Will Hunting. Jury selection is expected to take several days. Ilya Meritz, NPR News, New York.
Today is tax day, and millions of Americans are up against a deadline at midnight to file their returns. If you can't file your information by today, the IRS says you should apply for an automatic 6-month extension. Some people, however, can get an extra day or two to file if they live in Maine, Massachusetts, or Washington, D.C., due to observed holidays. On Wall Street, the Dow was up 32 points, the Nasdaq Composite up 10. You're listening to NPR News from Washington.
Live from News 88.7 in Houston, I'm Gabrielle Dawkins. Democrat organizers across the greater Houston area called for the Republican Congress members to hold town halls during rallies last night. From the Fort Bend County Bureau, News 88.7's Natalie Weber reports from a town hall where activists say they want to meet with their lawmakers.
Congressional District 22 covers most of Fort Bend County. Last night, roughly 70 of its residents called for U.S. Representative and Republican Troy Nehls to hold a town hall. Mark Lester is an Air Force veteran who has lived in the Katy area for about 20 years.
If we want change, we got to get rid of Nehls. It's just that simple.
In the Clear Lake area, other advocates called for Congressman Randy Weber and Brian Babin to meet with constituents. About 200 people attended that rally. The congressman could not be immediately reached for comment. From the Fort Bend County Bureau, I'm Natalie Weber, News 88.7.
Authorities are looking for suspects after 7 people were shot in a parking lot in Crosby. One of the victims later died. Harris County Sheriff Ed Gonzalez says about 100 people were gathering on Saturday night when chaos broke out.
What we're told is it wasn't anything violent that seemed to be happening. It just seemed that people were gathering here. We're told it may have been for some type of benefit for someone, that they were maybe raising monies or just everybody seemed to be having a good time. People were dancing, just hanging out.
All of the victims ranged from 16 to 25 years of age. Police have not released details about the shooter. Gas prices are trickling down slightly across Houston after rising about 15 cents in between the end of March and the beginning of April. AAA is reporting that the average price for a gallon of regular is now roughly $2.74. It's 75 degrees on the UH campus, mostly sunny with a high near 80. Tonight's low is 64 degrees. I'm Gabrielle Dawkins, News 88.7.
Support for NPR comes from NPR stations. Other contributors include Progressive Insurance. Progressive is looking for individuals in a variety of career fields who want to help build a culture of inclusiveness. More information, including application, at progressive.com/careers.
Live from Houston Public Media and News 88.7, it's Hello Houston, an open forum on today's biggest stories affecting Houston and beyond. Call now, 713-440-8870, or let us know your thoughts on today's topics by emailing us at talk@hellohouston.org. And now here's your host for Hello Houston, Ernie Manouse, Celeste Díaz Schurman, and Frank Billingsley.
Welcome into the lunchtime hour of
Hello, Houston.
There you go. You know, if you are not watching us online on YouTube or on our website, you miss all of the interaction that happens during the breaks. And during this last break, you would have seen both Celeste and I burst out laughing. It's because we just found out Frank knows how to Google.
Thank God.
Yeah.
Where would this show be without Google?
I'll tell you about it. But it was just funny the way he said it. And so we got to have a good laugh here. Yeah. You can watch all of that, HoustonPublicMedia.org or YouTube.com/the Houston Public Media channel. You don't type all that in.
Well, I was going to say, you can watch all of that and get a good laugh.
And get a good laugh at what we do in here. You can also enjoy the weather outside.
You know, it's not bad. It's a little cloudy today. It's warming up. It was a nice morning. Nice, crisp, cool. Unfortunately, it's going to start getting more summer-like as we go toward the weekend. Warmer and humid, temperatures in the 80s. Lows not quite as cool. The humidity comes up. And then this weekend, Easter weekend, 30% chance of showers Saturday and Sunday. And you know, there's an old farmer's tale. That's what I call it. An old farmer's tale that if it rains on Easter Sunday, it'll rain every Sunday for the next 10 Sundays.
Really?
It's about true. Only because we get into these systems about a week apart now. And so the idea is that if we have a wet weekend, we'll continue to have wet weekends. So We shall see, said the blind man.
Okay, we shall. But we've got a full hour for you coming up right here on Hello Houston. And we're going to be talking about adult autism later in the hour. And also, you know the song The Rose?
I love The Rose.
That is such a beautiful song.
Well, the woman who wrote it, who is a big cabaret star, big actress, Amanda McBroom, is going to be here with us in studio.
Oh.
My mom loved Bette Midler. She still does.
Wait. Your mom loves Bette Midler?
Yes.
I love Bette Midler.
Do you?
Frank
You and
is your
Lydia.
mom.
You and Lydia would get along. And I remember being probably too young to watch the movie Beaches. Of course. And it just, I just cried.
Anyway, moving forward with our show today, Celeste is going to give us the topics of the day.
Yes. Texas has a child care crisis, and lower income working households are taking the hardest hit. The nonprofit Children at Risk is sending a clear message. Texas's economy is at risk due to the lack of affordable, high-quality early childhood education. Child care centers are shutting down across the state due to funding. As a result, so-called child care deserts are expanding, leaving families with few options that are close by for them to be able to access child care within a reasonable time. 43 child care deserts have already been identified in Houston. More than half, 56% of low-income children under the age of 6 with working parents live in these underserved areas. What needs to be done to provide quality child care for Texas kids and support for working parents? Give us a call, 713-440-8870. We want to hear from you.
You know, it's interesting. We hear about food deserts all the time, areas where there is no food.
Hold on 1 second. Your mic is not...
Oh, there
we
I
go.
am. I would hate to think you wouldn't get to hear my wisdom.
Yes.
God forbid it.
No, what I was saying is that we talk all the time about food deserts, those areas where there's not readily available food. There's now supermarkets and little convenience stores have to pick up the slack if there's even those. We don't often hear about child deserts, and that is a fascinating concept to me.
Yeah, and it's one of those things where you feel for parents who are working 1 or 2 jobs. I mean, what do you do with your children that are young, that are babies?
There are 420 desert zip codes.
Yeah. I mean, it's
Wow.
a real problem, and I think it goes further than just childcare. Looking at maternity leave for mothers, looking at paternity leave, parents. It's hard and it's expensive, and it's one of those things where truly the fact that we are still talking about these things sometimes blows my mind that clearly we need to have solutions.
Are there just too many of us anymore? And the reason I say that question is because we look at these things like the city budget and federal budgets and all of that and the cost to do things, and there's so many people and infrastructure and all that. Is this really a sustainable concept moving into the future?
What, human beings?
Human beings, it costs so much to live the way we live. And
Well,
then you
the way we live.
Well, the way anybody lives. When you come down to roads and health care and child care and all that, the amounts that it costs, what's going to happen? I think it's an economic question.
And
at the
younger
end of the day.
generations are really looking at, should I be having kids?
Yeah.
It is
the
so
future?
expensive to have children. Our executive producer, Jim, and I were just talking about this, how the cost that it is to raise a child now just continues to go up. And you're looking at your budget as a young adult, and you're thinking, well, is it worth it? I mean, it's hard. Times are hard for millennials.
I'm going to misquote this number,
Gen
but I
Z,
want to
Gen
say,
X.
was it $300,000 from childhood
Yes.
through
Yeah.
school? I mean,
That
I just
was-
can't even imagine.
I heard
that.
3.
Yeah, $300,000.
Yeah.
But we want to hear what you have to say about this. Give us a call, 713-440-8870.
Moving on and moving right along, Houston to Dallas bullet train project. We've
I
talked
know.
about that. Well, it suffered a significant blow on Monday as the federal government announced an abrupt termination of a planning grant to Amtrak just 7 months after it was awarded. So the money was given, and then you're not getting it. The U.S. Department of Transportation and the Federal Railroad Administration and Amtrak, the nation's passenger train company of the United States, agreed to terminate the $63.9 million grant Amtrak was awarded last year to help move the project forward. What are your thoughts about this? Will this officially kill the bullet train? Give us a call, 713-440-8870. I think we had all agreed that we like the bullet train.
And I think we're going to have to agree that it's nailed dead in the water.
Yeah.
And I can only imagine some kid in Doge saying, Texas doesn't need a train. And, how did this just settle? 7 months ago, obviously under the Biden administration, this money was granted.
Biden liked his trains.
And now, 7 months later, all of a sudden, the money's gone. And it's not just a little bit. It's a lot of millions of dollars that has just
almost
been taken away.
$64 million.
I know.
Yeah. The U.S. Transportation Secretary Sean B. Duffy, in Monday news release, said it called the high-speed rail project a waste of taxpayer funds and a distraction from Amtrak's core mission of improving its existing subpar service.
Have either of you ever taken an Amtrak trip?
Yes.
I never have. I've always wanted
to.
Have. It was when I was a child.
Yeah.
As a child, a couple times.
Well, that doesn't count. That was a long time ago.
Did I ever take an Amtrak train?
Yes. Are they
okay.
subpar? Is the question. Are their services
in college
subpar?
years, I did, because you could go. You could fly from Chicago to where it was, Scranton, Syracuse, whatever we flew into, and we would take the train back to Binghamton. And it was fun from a childhood wonder of the world. I don't know, when I see these videos of people who get on the train and ride for like 4 days, 5 days across the country, and they're just in the same cabin, it would be a little hard for me.
If it's nice, I've looked at these different train rides that they offer, like from Seattle to Chicago,
right.
San Francisco to Chicago, and across Canada. There's some fabulous train rides, so I would be willing to do it.
But
are those through Amtrak?
Some of them.
Yeah.
Okay.
But the point being here,
I want to do one.
Those are pleasure experiences theoretically, or we're talking a need between two of our largest cities in this country to connect them so people have a conduit to get back and forth quickly and easily. I think we're not looking.
Well, to your point just moments ago about our population continues to grow, we're going to have transportation for everyone.
Give us a call. What do you think? 713-440-8870.
Just to put a cap on this, though, I do think that when we're looking at our economy and we're looking at budgets and deficits, is that really essential?
Yes. Because then it helps with roadways and highway builds and repairs and all that. There's much wear and tear. If you're not driving back and forth to Dallas, but you're on the train, then that's better for the economy. It's better for the environment. I think it's a much bigger thing, and they're being very short-sighted. I just unplugged myself. Very short-sighted. I'll stop there.
Well, and I think it's part of the future. I mean, to get this country.
Look at Europe.
Yeah.
They're flying around on trains. Not flying.
Of course, all of Europe's about the size of Texas, too.
Well, we're the size of Texas. Perfect example. Thank you. Frank, your story.
Okay, my story is very interesting because I didn't even know this was a thing. Starbucks is updating its uniform policy, making sure that its green aprons are visible. So this starts May 12th. The baristas at stores in North America will have to wear solid black tops under those green aprons. A change from wearing whatever color you want. So now it's got to be black. And then this is an attempt to allow our iconic green apron to shine and create a sense of familiarity for our customers, according to Starbucks. And the company is also tweaking its pant colors. Soon to be required is khaki, black, or blue denim, a change from being allowed to wear navy, gray, or brown. Coffee chains have been looking for ways to bring customers back into the stores. Their sales have slipped for 4 straight quarters. I didn't know that. The longest decline in years. So what do you think? Is a dress code, does that make you want to visit Starbucks more? 713-440-8870. Does anybody really care?
Two things off the top. Then I'll lay out.
Yes.
First of all, it sounds like what I wear every day is what they want all their employees to wear. Black shirts, black tan, or blue jeans. And second of all, really, is that going to help the bottom line? Because I can see your apron. I'm going to buy coffee from you.
I like it. I love a uniform. I like walking into, I do. I think that it will, I think there are And this is a generalization, and I know you shouldn't speak in broad strokes, but I do think that we could up our ante a little bit in the fashion department, just in general in our country. And, in Starbucks, I think they could, a nice crisp shirt, I would not mind it.
Well,
if I'm paying $8 for a coffee.
Yeah, well, yes, you could actually.
I'm paying $8 for a coffee. I want to see your green apron.
I want to see the green apron.
It's like the golden arches. When I go to McDonald's and I don't see the golden arches, at first it was hard to get used to.
Do
like when they started
fries
going to malls,
taste the same?
and you don't see. I mean, you see the little ones, but back when I was growing up, those big golden arches was that kind of branding is important for really any company. I think
agree.
To tie all of this together, Celeste and Frank's comment, I was in a McDonald's this weekend and a woman who was ordering was wearing bunny slippers from her house.
Ordering is one thing.
You're
serving
welcome.
Is another.
Thank you. There we go. We do invite you to join in and share your opinions on our topics. Any topic that we're talking about, 713-440-8870. And we have a call from Allison from Fresno who's on the line. Hello, Allison.
Hello.
Hello. What's on your mind today?
I just wanted to comment about the topic of the raising the kids.
Yes, the childcare costs.
Right. And so I understand when you're talking about daycare and those types of things, but I think that as kids get older, as parents, we do kind of get caught up in the keeping up with the Joneses mentality. And so a lot of that is, okay, well, my friend's kid got this kind of car. Our kid needs to get this kind of car. I've just seen it when you're talking about clothes and traveling and those types of things. And now that my kids are grown, they've admitted to me that they probably could have done without some of the things that I provided for them.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, and I can tell you as the father of a 37-year-old, you get to keep raising them. It doesn't stop at 18.
Yeah, Allison, I think you're correct in that it is tough whenever your kids see somebody with the new shoes or the cool Pottery Barn backpack or they want that. And it's tough to scale back and say, do we really need that? And so do you think that is being factored into the rising cost of raising children?
I think so, but for me, I'm just speaking for myself. I'm a single parent, and I'm proud to say that both of my children have been through college, and they're pretty successful right now. But I just want to say that I emphasize on keeping them involved in extracurricular activities or whatever they wanted to do, so they didn't have much idle time. And my advice to people who think they can't afford it, volunteer, offer to help out. Offer to be the dugout mom, like if your kid wants to play softball or something like that. There's ways to cut costs if you want your children to be involved. But for me, the main thing is the extracurricular activities are through the roof, especially when you're talking about club sports.
Thank you, Allison, very much for that. And remember, we're interested in everyone's point of view on these topics, 713-440-8870. Just a note on that, too. The topic that we were talking about is the high cost of childcare. So, and often in underserved communities, it's very hard to find care for a child, let alone to hold down a job. Other issues that Allison's bringing up are definitely issues we talk about, too. But that our story was more on the childcare cost and the lack of there. We also been talking about the bullet train. Let's go to the phones at 713-440-8870. Steve, you're on the line from Cyprus. Got some thoughts for us today?
Yes, good afternoon. I enjoy the fact that you've created this show. Let me explain that I'm a railroad retiree, as was my father, as was his father. I am pro-train. Okay. And I've ridden passenger trains in more than one place. The Army even put me on one decades ago. But there's just no realistic need for a bullet train between Houston and Dallas.
Really?
It won't be cost effective. They're not that far apart. There's other ways to get there. It's when you guys talked about it, you talked about it romantically, like, gosh, it would be so much fun.
Thank you, Steve.
Yeah.
Steve, I talk about everything romantically, just so you know. But you really think that it wouldn't...
I will pay closer attention.
You wouldn't think that it would improve transportation between the two cities, that it would be a quicker means to get back and forth, that it would reduce congestion on the highways, that maybe even if you go to Dallas for an evening out, you come back, it reduces chances of drunk driving incidents, late night tired driving back and forth?
Okay, what a host of issues. I would never go to Dallas for dinner.
That's right.
The only reason that it might be reasonably quick is because getting through the airport these days is so painful that it's just as fast to drive. I just don't believe there's a demand. There certainly won't be enough demand to create profit. Yeah. Just because the Biden administration throwing money everywhere on their way out the door offered them some money doesn't mean it was a good idea or we should follow through on it.
That's
Steve,
I agree, Steve.
Thank you for that. And keep listening.
Yeah, we have Rob on the line about the Starbucks issue. Rob from the Woodlands, what's up?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, so it's interesting you brought that up. I'm a normal Starbucks user, have been for a very long time, and three things that I've noticed over the past year or so.
One thing that I'm noticing is turn down your radio. I think we're getting some feedback there.
Sorry about that.
No, continue.
Can you still hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to switch to my...
we have about 30 seconds, Rob.
Okay. Yeah, so one is price. You know, they've continued to go up on their price on their products.
Yep.
You know, an iced coffee now there is $5 or $6.
Okay, what's number two?
And, yeah, number two would be too many products they're offering now.
Yep.
And this kind of leads into my third. Just as a coffee drinker who wants to go in and get a cup of coffee, that should be a quick transaction. You know, they're offering, you know, basically iced latte, milkshakes or whatever. You get a family in front of you, you can wait for 20 minutes just to get a cup of coffee. And I think that turns away a lot of coffee drinkers, which is their core business.
Rob, that's fair.
I agree, Rob.
We've got to go to Abigail, calling all the way from Austin, Texas. Abigail, what's your thought on the Starbucks issue?
Hi. So for me, the uniform's a great gesture. I like to see a clean uniform.
Yeah.
There you go.
But for me, I would say it's more about, sorry, if there's feedback. It's more about how the employees are responding and acting. I stopped at 2 Starbucks for work, because I work remotely. And one Starbucks, I couldn't get comfortable. The noise was blaring. People were talking over the music, so it was just really loud and frustrating. I go to another one, and the employees are coming out behind the counter, sitting down, dancing around, chatting with each other on their cell phones. I think it's just training and putting the expectations there.
Abigail, you bring up a great point. Should you put more emphasis on customer service and training your staff than what exactly they're wearing? I think probably some would argue once you get them in the mindset of presenting in a very certain way, then also that would improve that as well. Thank you for calling, Abigail, and keep listening.
All right, bye.
Coming up on Hello Houston, we talk about adult autism, and later in the hour, songwriter Amanda McBroom will join us. And we are also taking your calls on any of today's topics at 713-440-8870. This is Hello Houston on News 88.7. What we're talking about today, whether it's a local issue or a personal story, is exactly what makes Hello Houston special. You hear voices that reflect your city, but it only happens when you support it. Please give now at houstonpublicmedia.org/donate or call 888-909-0887. I'm Celeste Díaz Schurman here with Frank Billingsley.
And the show doesn't work without you. The voices, the questions, the stories. They're here because of listeners like you stepping up. So support this work now at houstonpublicmedia.org/donate or call us 888-909-0887.
And today's the perfect time to give. It's Trees Days. Just in the first hour of Hello Houston, we have 16 trees selected. Thank you to those. That is amazing. So let's get some more trees planted this hour. Giving is very easy. Just choose trees as your thank you gift at houstonpublicmedia.org/donate or call 888-909-0887.
Yep, support Houston Public Media today, and you can have Trees for Houston, plant trees in our community. 16 trees were selected last hour. Let's do 16 more this hour. Give it houstonpublicmedia.org/donate or call 888-909-0887. Thanks.
And maybe you've never given before. but you've been listening. This is your moment to become a supporter. Your gift helps fund this show, and today it can plant a tree. Two of my favorite things, the show and the tree. Thanks to our partnership with Trees for Houston, go to houstonpublicmedia.org/donate or call 888-909-0887.
And if you're already a member, thank you. But consider making an additional gift today. Your support helps us grow this platform for local stories and literally grow our city. Select Trees as your thank you gift when you give at houstonpublicmedia.org/donate or call 888-909-0887.
Monthly donations are one of the most impactful ways to give. Just $10 or $20 a month. It helps us plan, stay strong, and keep you connected all year long. Set yours up now at houstonpublicmedia.org/donate or call 888-909-0887. And again, that number is 888-909-0887. And thank you for listening.
Support comes from GiveMeTheVIN.com. Purchasing vehicles online with the VIN or license plate and photos, or by bringing the vehicle to Houston area offices. Details at GiveMeTheVIN.com.
An informed community is a stronger community. And today, you can strengthen Houston in 2 ways.
It's Trees Day, the day when your gift supports your access to information and helps plant trees in Greater Houston.
Donate to Houston Public Media right now and select Trees as your thank you gift. 1 gift, 2 ways to give back.
Make a difference now at houstonpublicmedia.org/donate or call 888-909-0887.
Support comes from Gen Pro, a Houston-based home generator service providing power to homes during unexpected outages, helping with connectivity and productivity. More information is available at genpro.com.
Support for Houston Public Media comes from Rice University's Master of Liberal Studies, combining an interdisciplinary Rice education with a flexible degree plan for working adults. More at gls.rice.edu.
Support comes from Smart Financial Center in Sugar Land, presenting jazz pianist and singer Diana Krall, returning in concert Sunday, April 27th to Smart Financial Center. Tickets at smartfinancialcenter.net. Support comes from Elmore, communicating with clarity and inspiration, collaborating with executive leadership to create expert internal and external communications strategy. Elmore, listen, clarify, communicate. More at elmorepr.com. Support for Houston Public Media comes from Central Market Catering, with full heat and serve multi-course meals for brunches, dinners, and Passover Seders. More at centralmarket.com/catering.
And now back to Hello Houston. To comment on any of today's topics, call 713-440-8870 or email us at talk@hellohouston.org. Now back to Ernie Manouse, Celeste Díaz Schurman, and Frank Billingsley.
Welcome back to Hello Houston. I'm Celeste Díaz Schurman here with Ernie Manouse, like you just heard, and Frank Billingsley.
Hello, Celeste. Hello.
So it's estimated that about 2.2% of people over the age of 18 have autism spectrum disorder. And new research suggests that diagnosis for adults are on the rise, with the greatest increase in diagnosis rates occurring among people ages 26 to 34. Because some adults might not get a diagnosis until later in life, dealing with a later diagnosis as an adult can come with certain complexities, but it can also bring opportunity. Like Adam Brock, who was diagnosed with autism as an adult. We also welcome Donna Wilson and Jacquice Jones from the Monarch School and Institute, an organization that serves students and young adults with neurological differences. Donna is the coordinator for the Monarch residential program for adults living with neurological differences, and Jacquice is the admissions director. Adam, Donna, Jacquice, we have a full house.
We do.
Welcome to Hello Houston.
Thank you, First time. We've had five.
This is a
never six.
full panel. So Adam, why don't we begin with you? When did you really connect that perhaps there was something wrong or maybe different about you as an adult?
Well, as long as I can remember, I've been different, but I never knew why. Mm-hmm. And probably 2.5 years ago, liked a post on Instagram. You know, it was a meme about autism, And then, of course, the algorithm picks that up, and I start seeing more and more autism posts. I'm like, oh, yeah, I do that. Like, I have to wear socks because if the bottom of my pants are up my ankle, that's all I can think about. I was talking about how I don't like ground turkey because of the color. That cream of mushroom could taste like cheesecake. I don't care.
Yeah.
And I had always viewed these behaviors in silos growing up. Like, oh, I just don't like that color. I just don't like when this happens. But then you see a meme on Instagram, and it has 5 of these things that you're like, oh, that's all me.
Does it make you feel included then in a community in some way, help give understanding to the behavior? Because I think some people would say, well, it's me, it's how I live my life. Do I need to know this?
Yeah, absolutely, because it's who I am. It's how my brain works. I'm not disadvantaged, although there are levels, or autism is a spectrum, and there are several people that are disadvantaged. There are a lot of things that I do terribly.
Well, that's my question. What were the biggest challenges for you? Because some of what you're telling me sounds sort of OCD. Like, I don't want the pants rubbing my ankle. A lot of us have sort of those kind of issues. What were your biggest challenges that you faced that maybe you didn't even realize it until you started looking into it?
The biggest one was what we call masking.
Okay.
And that's where you do something not natural to you. You mimic someone. And it occurred to me that in almost all my social interactions, I never intuitively knew how to handle those. I always followed someone. I always did what I had seen them do before in a similar situation, but maybe not identical.
So that would cause an enormous amount of anxiety, I would think.
The worst part about it was the people I was mirroring were shitty people.
Oh, well.
And so now
you go.
I'm becoming a shitty person, but all I'm doing is I'm doing what I saw someone else say.
Yeah. Right. And Jacquice, why don't you tell us a little bit about the Monarch School? And I know it's for lower school, but it goes all the way into, it's also an institute.
Yes. So the Monarch School and Institute has been around since 1997. And so we are located in the Spring Branch area in the greater Houston area. Our school really caters to, as you mentioned, not only little ones that have been diagnosed with autism and other neurodevelopmental disorders, but also young adults as well. Oftentimes what I hear and my colleagues hear from parents is that they have worked so hard to get their learner through primary school, through high school, that they sometimes forget about what's next. And so it's kind of like a cliff that they jump off of when they enter into the world of adulthood. So now we are having to figure out, how do I adult? What does that look like? What does that sound like? And so Monarch is there to provide not only support to strengthen those executive functions, which is our ability to complete tasks. That also includes our ability to initiate tasks, to follow a schedule, to reference the room. But we're also working on the social piece as well. Lots of learners with neurodevelopmental challenges such as autism, while they may be curious about others, it's difficult for them to know how to initiate conversations, to initiate play in age-appropriate ways. And so being social is also another huge piece of our program because, as you mentioned, being a part of a community is critical to everyone. Everyone wants to be a part of something, and so we're there to provide that community of support for those young adults. And then also employability, helping them develop the skills, the soft skills, the hard skills, and everything that's necessary to be employed is also something that we work on. So there's a fair amount of coaching, job coaching, as well as therapeutic coaching that goes into it as well, because anxiety can be a major barrier for those learners that may not have the right language or know how to articulate what they're trying to say.
Donna, as we listen to all of this, and there are going to be people listening right now who are going to think, well, some of these things apply to me, some of these behaviors. Mm-hmm. When does it cross the line into something that either we should be checked for or that we would need additional services to help us connect better with the world around us?
I think that depends on when you get the diagnosis, and that's the first step for parents. And then once they graduate from high school, it's a lot of parents are wondering, what are they going to do now? How are we going to help them now? And so we have what's called the Emerge program, and that's for our learners that have graduated. And we have a culinary program, we have a production program, we have a horticulture program. And one of the things we've learned in trying to employ these young people is not every job or not every learner that's autistic wants to work in the public, but everyone deserves to have a job. So we created a program at Monarch called the Enterprise Program that is paid employment for these young people.
Have we changed how we look at working with individuals with autism? And I mean that question in that trying to normalize behavior as opposed to embracing uniquenesses in people. And how do you find the balance in that care?
I think you get to know that learner and what they need. And then
so there's not a one fix.
No, it's not. And some things happen faster and sometimes take quite a long time. It all comes back to that learner and what they need.
How many adults are in your residential program right now? Right
now I have 8. And we have 3 residential homes. They're 4-bedroom homes. The faculty educator, which I'm also a faculty educator, and I've lived in this program with these learners for the last 15 years. So each house can have up to 3 learners. They have their own bedroom, and then if it's in their plan, they transition to an apartment with a roommate, and then from there to live alone.
What is kind of the standard for how long someone might stay there, or is it different for every person?
It's different for every person because not everyone that comes to our residential program is going to progress to living on their own.
Right. And, you mentioned these services that y'all are providing for adults with autism. Adam, what type of support do you feel like you've had now post your diagnosis? And how do you feel like your diagnosis was able to really help you find opportunity in how to socialize with people?
So with work, working for an employer that is so supportive of mental health, and we can have these open conversations. When I moved to a new team, one of the first things I told them was, hey, I have high functioning autism. Here's some of my quirks you're going to see. My boss has never asked me once why I'm sending emails at 3 a.m. or on a Saturday afternoon. And it's because I can't clear these things out of my mind. But he knows that there might be times during the day where I can't clear some personal stuff out of my mind. Sure. But I'm getting my work done. And to just be able to say, I don't do this well.
Right.
I am not good at giving you an estimate on when I'm going to complete a task.
Right.
Because what's going through my head is all the possibilities and all the problems I'll run into.
Right.
Having a supportive spouse has been huge as well.
Absolutely. And so what has been at the Monarch Show, what are some of the more surprising situations that you have found and that you think that people should know, and the stigmas around adults with autism?
Wow, that's a great question. One of the things that always surprises me is how differently individuals show up when they are truly supported, valued, and respected. Oftentimes, when I see learners at the beginning of the admissions process, their self-esteem is low. They've had a lot of school failure or even failure in the employment area. They may have fractured relationships with loved ones. And so their confidence is really low. And so they're questioning, what are my natural gifts and affinities? What are my strengths? And so it's always wonderful to see learners come to Monarch. They find their people. Their self-esteem, increases, and now they feel like they have the tools necessary to go out and affect change. So that is one of the things that's always surprising to me. Also, I want to lift up parents as well. It's always encouraging to see parents that share their story of how their kiddo may have been diagnosed with autism or some other neurodevelopmental disorder when they may have been 3 or 5. They had tons of language, and then the language went away. And then all of these maladaptive behaviors started to, bubble up to the surface, and they didn't know if their child would ever speak or would ever be able to be in a formal school environment and be successful. So to see them on the opposite end of that spectrum, to now they have a young adult, and now they're thinking about supported employment. Are we going to a 2-year college or a 4-year college? Are we going into the world of entrepreneurship? So those are some of the things that really, stick with me.
Awesome.
That is amazing. Donna Wilson and Jacquice Jones are from the Monarch School and Institute, an organization that serves students and young adults with neurological differences. Thank you for joining us. And Adam Brock is an adult who was diagnosed with autism later in life. Thank you for sharing your story.
Yeah, thanks all three of you. All right, coming up on Hello Houston, we speak with the one and only Amanda McBroom ahead of her performance at the University of Houston. Stay with us.
What we're talking about today, whether it's a local issue or a personal story, is exactly what makes Hello Houston special. You hear voices that reflect our city, but it only happens when you support it. Please give now at houstonpublicmedia.org/donate or call 888-909-0887. I'm Celeste Díaz Schurman, here with Frank Billingsley.
All right, the show doesn't work without you. The voices, the questions, the stories, they're here because listeners like you step up. Support this work now at houstonpublicmedia.org/donate or call 888-909-0887.
And today is the perfect time to give. It's Trees Day. Just in the first hour of Hello Houston, we have already received 16 trees selected as a thank you gift. That is amazing. Let's get some more trees, y'all. Giving is very easy. Just choose trees as your thank you gift at houstonpublicmedia.org/donate or call 888-909-0887.
Yeah, support Houston Public Media today, and you can have Trees for Houston, plant trees in our community. 16 trees were selected last hour. Let's do 16 more this hour. Give it houstonpublicmedia.org/donate or call 888-909-0887. And thanks.
And maybe you've never given before, but you've been listening. Well, this is your moment to become a supporter. Your gift helps fund this show, and today it can plant a tree. Thanks to our partnership with Trees for Houston, go to houstonpublicmedia.org/donate or call 888-909-0887.
If you're already a member, thank you. But consider making an additional gift today. Your support helps us grow this platform for local stories and literally grow our city. Select trees as your thank you gift when you give at houstonpublicmedia.org/donate or call 888-909-0887.
Monthly donations are one of the most impactful ways to give. Just $10 or $20 a month helps us plan, helps us stay strong, and keep you connected all year long. Set yours up now at houstonpublicmedia.org/donate or call 888-909-0887.
Houston Public Media was built to serve you, even in uncertain times. When other funding is at risk, your support becomes essential. And right now, it can also support the health and the beauty of our city. So give now and choose the trees as a thank you gift at houstonpublicmedia.org/donate or call 888-909-0887.
And we're here to give you context to help you understand issues that matter and make thoughtful decisions. That kind of service is worth protecting. So give us a call, 888-909-0887, and thank you for listening.
Support comes from the Rowan Foundation, hosting the Boldface Conference for Emerging Writers at the University of Houston, featuring poet, professor, and director of Texas Review Press, J. Bruce Fuller, May 19th through the 23rd. Early bird registration at boldfaceconference.com.
Hi, I'm Barry Ward, Executive Director of Trees for Houston. Today is a special day of the spring radio campaign. It's Trees Day. When you give to Houston Public Media, instead of selecting a traditional thank you gift, how about choosing trees instead? You'll help give the gift of trees for your environment and help sustain independent journalism for our community. Give online at houstonpublicmedia.org or call 909-0887, and thank you.
Support comes from Houston Grand Opera, presenting Wagner's Tannhäuser in a production featuring tenor Russell Thomas on stage at Wortham Theater, April 25th through May 11th. Tickets are available at hgo.org. Support comes from the Houston Zoo, presenting its annual Feast with the Beasts. Cuisine from a number of Houston's diverse eateries, animal experiences, live music, and more. May 2nd. More at houstonzoo.org. Houston Public Media is licensed to the University of Houston System, governed by the UH Board of Regents. Information about open meetings, dates, times, and locations is online at uhsystem.edu.
And now back to Hello Houston. To comment on any of today's topics, call 713-440-8870 or email us at talk@hellohouston.org. Now back to Ernie Manouse, Celeste Díaz Schurman, and Frank Billingsley.
I love that music.
I did too.
I know. Welcome back to Hello Houston. I'm Frank Billingsley. It was Celeste and Ernie.
Good to know you like that music.
I do. I think it's
I like
fun.
the music of our next guest, though. I
really?
really like that.
Slightly.
Yes, she's been called the greatest cabaret performer of her generation and one of the greatest nightclub performers of all time. I'm referring, of course, to singer, songwriter, and actress Amanda McBroom.
Yay.
She first came to national attention when Bette Midler's version of the song The Rose hit #1 all over the world. And I can't believe it, 1979.
Yeah.
In some ways, I think it was yesterday.
It was, honey.
Yeah, it was. But she's also worked with many other artists, including Barry Manilow, Harry Belafonte, Donny Osmond, Kurt Cobain, even Alvin and the Chipmunks. How do you get a career like that? On Friday, August 18th, she'll be appearing at the University of Houston's Quintero Theater with a concert called An Evening with Amanda McBroom and the UH Singers, and she's here with us right now. Long introduction to say, welcome, Amanda.
I
Hello,
am
Houston.
delighted to be. I haven't been to Houston in so long. It's so wonderful to be back.
Well, let's just start with that. So why are you here now?
I'm here because my beloved Sally Mays,
Who was on last week,
who is one of the great musical cabaret storytelling performing divas of the world, called me and said, now listen, do you want to come down to Houston? Do you want to work with some kids, which I love to do? Do you want to sing in Houston? Honey, I haven't sung in Houston in many decades. Yes, thank you.
Where is your home?
My home is in a little town called Ojai, California.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
I remember that from Brothers and Sisters.
Exactly.
Yeah, Ojai.
Yeah.
Very nice. And it's April 18th that you have this big concert here.
Yes, and it's going to be so much fun. Much to my amazement, Sally organized this. They're going to be working on all the songs that I have written. Wow. And so I'm here to help them, work on these songs. And then on that night, they're going to do the first half. Then I'm going to do the second half. And then we're all going to get together for the end.
Let me take you back to 1979.
Sure.
And somebody called and said, guess what? Bette Midler loves The Rose and is going to be huge. Did you just lose it?
Oh, that is one of the most surreal moments in my life.
I bet.
I was not a professional songwriter at the time. I was an actress. I was doing a lot of television. I was doing musical theater. But I wrote songs on the side because I'm a folkie in my heart and have been since I was about 14 years old. And I had this little cassette with that song on it, and my dear friend, who is now my favorite writing partner, Michelle Browerman, was a professional songwriter, and she said, listen, there's this film coming out called The Rose, and you have this song called The Rose. Do you want me to submit it? And I said, I've never submitted a song in my life. I don't know how to do that here. And I gave her my cheesy little cassette and thought no more about it until they called me up and said, we want to put it in the film. What?
Wow.
It's iconic.
Wasn't in the film. It went on to be this mega hit.
I know.
That must still surprise you at moments.
Constantly.
Yeah.
Constantly. I can't tell you. It is like a fantasy fulfilled on so many levels. Yeah. Because in my heart, I've always wanted to be able to do something good for the world. And I can't tell you how many times I run into somebody who says, this got me through a crisis, this got me through divorce, this was my grandmother's favorite song, blah, blah, blah. So it's like a fantasy fulfilled. I did a good deed.
Does it ever bother you in the fact that it overshadows so much of everything else you did? I'm sure there's not a single interview that happens where someone doesn't start with the song "The Rose."
No. I am delighted. Thank you very much. That was my big foot in the door.
And you mentioned that you were an actress yourself, and so
Yes.
you were very forward-facing. How did it feel to make this huge impact and have somebody else singing your words?
I love it.
Yeah.
It's absolutely thrilling to me because every time somebody else does one of my pieces, especially The Rose, because so many people have done it in so many different ways, I learn a different thing about it.
Sure.
You know, that's one of the reasons I'm really looking forward to working with the kids. I'm going to learn so much from these kids about their approach. Because on the outside of it, The Rose sounds like a very, very simple song. It is a very simple song.
It's like just a little beautiful poem.
Yeah, exactly.
So I'm going to put you on the spot.
Go for it.
Okay. Anne Murray, Olivia Newton-John, Donny Osmond, Barry Manilow, Bette Midler.
Kurt Cobain.
They've all sung your work.
Jack
Do
Black.
you? Who's your
Jack
favorite?
Black.
Jack Black.
Who's your favorite?
Ooh, that would be, aside from Miss Bette herself.
Right.
Yes.
Well,
of
there
course.
was a duet that Miss Bette did with Winona Ryder
Oh, wow.
that brought me to my knees.
Nice.
Yes, but also, you know, the Kingsmen Royal in England
Sure.
do it as it. Everybody, I love everybody doing it.
Yeah.
There was an interesting German pedal steel band that did it once, which was kind of whimsical.
So what was? Sorry, go ahead.
I was
just
going to
gonna
say. I was going to say, take me to the introduction where we talk about you're cited as such a great cabaret performer and a way of delivering a song. What is it that you want to impart on these students? What are you bringing, and what is it we could all learn about how to present a song and how to present ourselves?
Oh, you thought about that question deeply, didn't you? Every song, every good song, to my heart, is a story, is a movie. Songs are 3-minute movies. The songs I write are 3-minute movies. They have a plot, they have a beginning, a middle, and an end. And so what I love to work with kids on is, any kind of student, whatever age, is the telling of the story. Things like don't start a song at the end. You know, start it at the beginning. Think about who you are. Because I'm an actress. I wrote all these songs for myself as little mini movies for me to perform, you know, being unbelievably selfish. And so what I try to impart is find the story in a song and learn how to tell it like you're acting in a movie. You're doing a monologue.
Mm-hmm. Nice.
So what were the songs that you wrote for Jack Black and Kurt Cobain? How is it working with such different artists in such different genres?
Well, I tell you, they all did The Rose in different ways. Even Eminem did The Rose, which was a thrill to me because interestingly enough, you know, I'm not a big hip hop person. You can see by how old I am. But Eminem, all of his songs are movies. If you listen to them, they are stories. They are acting pieces. So I was thrilled when he wanted to do my piece. The songs that I love writing are songs for children. Oh, nice. You know, I've written with my writing partner, Michelle, 20 animated features for kids for Universal, for all of the Land Before Times after with the singing baby dinosaurs and Curious George and Hercules and Xena, a lot of animation. I'll run into somebody now who's 40 and he'll come up to me and he'll say, "Did you write big water?" And I'll say, "Do you have a 4-year-old?"
Yeah, I do actually.
Oh.
And I do actually, and I know all of those,
There you
those
go.
songs.
It's my fault. I'm so sorry.
Well, I forgive you because they're absolutely beautiful. And Amanda, thank you so much for joining us today on Hello Houston.
I'm thrilled to have been asked. It's lovely to meet you. It's lovely to be back in my home state.
Amanda McBroom is a singer-songwriter and actress. Amanda, again, thanks for joining us on Hello Houston.
I'm thrilled.
And that brings us to the end of our show. We want to thank you for listening to Hello Houston. We'll be back tomorrow with more conversations. This is News 88.7. Think about how different your day would feel without this station and without Hello Houston. In some cities, this kind of programming doesn't exist. But in Houston, we've got Hello Houston, a space for real conversations, local voices, and shared experiences. Keep it going and plant a tree today. We just had someone select 12 trees when they made their donation. That is so exciting. Join them and select trees when you give at houstonpublicmedia.org/donate or call 888-909-0887. I'm Celeste Díaz Schurman here with Ernie Manouse.
You don't tune in to be told what to think. You tune in for conversations that reflect your community and help you make sense of it, of all of it. That's what we deliver, and it's the power that comes from you. Support this local show and local trees. Select trees as your thank you gift when you give at houstonpublicmedia.org/donate or call 888-909-0887.
And listen, we're here to serve Greater Houston, even when other funding is uncertain. And today, your support does double the good. Keep this show strong and help plant a beautiful tree right here in our incredible city. Just choose the trees thank you gift at houstonpublicmedia.org/donate or call 888-909-0887.
It's simple, it's quick, and it's so impactful. houstonpublicmedia.org/donate or call us 888-909-0887.
Thanks for listening to Hello Houston. Join us every Monday through Friday from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. to talk all things Houston. The Hello Houston production team includes Garrett Bowman, William Menjivar, Jen Altide, Todd Holslander, and Jim Kovacic. For the latest in local news, subscribe to the Hello Houston daily newsletter at houstonpublicmedia.org. Hello Houston is a production of Houston Public Media. The opinions expressed by the guests of this program are solely their own and do not represent the views of management, staff, or underwriters of Houston Public